Welcome to BizBlend, where business brilliance comes to life. I am Rima, your guide on this journey from the boardroom to the front lines of innovation. Join us each week as we peel back the curtain on business strategies, tackle challenges head on, and unveil the hidden gems of success stories. Get set to fuel your entrepreneur fire and transform your business approach like never before. Hello and welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Mindful Living podcast, where we explore the transformative power of mindfulness and intentional living. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Mike, who has an inspiring story of personal transformation through wilderness meditation. After facing a difficult divorce that left him feeling lost, Mike decided to take a leap of faith and embark on a solo backpacking trip. Immersed in the natural world, he found a deep sense of peace and clarity that helped him rebuild his life. And in this episode of The Mindful Living, we'll dive into Mike's journey of healing through nature and how wilderness meditation can be a powerful tool for emotional and spiritual renewal. So, Mike, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for this conversation.
Awesome, awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit about what led you to seek solace and peace in nature? What was going through your mind before you made the decision to take that solo backpacking trip?
Well, as you mentioned, there was that second divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And in that phase of my life, I was stuck in the rat race of go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing she said to my face was I had nothing to offer her or my kids.
Uh-huh.
And being that I've always struggled with depression anyway, that just completely triggered me and set me off to go and attempt to take my life. I just happened to wake up the next morning, successfully and luckily. And it started me on this journey where I got into talk therapy and I got introduced to meditation. And even though I fought the idea for the whole session, I went around back and I picked up my crossbows. I've always been an avid sportsman. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I was doing everything I just argued against. I was focusing on my thoughts, my breathing, slowing everything down, and realized that was meditation. And I'm like, I think I could do this, but sitting here in the concrete world, people are going to look at me and they're going to judge me. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So to me, the safest place in the world is the outdoors. And I started toying around with that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
going out on just little day hikes and whatever, and sitting down and actually meditating. And then I thought, what if I just jump away from the world for a minute, throw on my backpack, go off for a couple of weeks and just explore some beautiful scenery. Maybe I could really reconnect with myself. And not only that, but
Mm-hmm.
reinvent my perception of the world around me. And, needless to say, that was a very successful journey.
Wow, that really sounds beautiful, Mike. And during a time in the wilderness, what moments or experiences stand out as pivotal in helping you find that inner peace?
There's one that distinctly comes to mind. It was actually a couple of months after that backpacking trip. I was out during
Mm-hmm.
the height of the deer rut, which was specifically remember the date. It was November 15th.
Mm-hmm.
That day, personally, it was a really miserable day. There was a blizzard going on. It was really cold,
Mm-hmm.
and sitting there all morning, I had seen nothing. And then finally, this beautiful young buck comes through, and I hold myself to this rule that if I don't have a connection, meaning I have never seen the deer before, I won't draw. I won't draw on him. So I stood there and I'm watching him, and he's making all the mistakes in the world that could get him killed that day, right? But he
Mm-hmm.
didn't care. As far as I could see, he didn't care. And it made me think about my relationship with the other thing that I struggle a lot with is anxiety and social anxiety, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And I named this deer Longhorn. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, Longhorn's out here doing his job. He's out here trying to procreate and further his species, making all these mistakes, knowing in the back of his head that even though it's a life and death situation, if he got into danger that he seen, he would be able to get out of it. He had the skills within him and he could
Mhm.
trust himself. So, observing that, it made me realize even though my panic attacks, they're not really life and death, even if they feel like it in the moment.
Mhm.
If I just took a moment to look inside of myself and remind myself that I had that same skill set to get through the situation and be okay,
Mhm.
it would I could power my way through and be all right. And
Mm.
that was one of those real pivotal moments for me.
That sounds very ethereal, Mike. And wilderness meditation, it seems different from a traditional indoor meditation. So can you walk us through how the environment or being in the nature it impacts the meditative process?
Well, there's two lines to that I've discovered in working with other people because I get a lot of people that come to me based off of the thrill and the excitement of what it sounds like. But when I tell them we're going to sit down in the woods and we're going to meditate, they tell me I can't do that. I can't sit still. So,
Mhm.
the first half of the hike, we're walking, and I'm incorporating a walking meditation, just kind of talking them through feeling the power of connection to the ground, the support underneath you, and then focusing on the movements of your body. And we hit the couple-mile mark, and we sit down, we hydrate, and we actually get into a guided meditation. And at that point, you're kind of winded a little bit, so you're really excited about resting. And it
Mhm.
helps you to sit down and come into the moment and really feel that connection with Mother Earth beneath you.
Yeah.
And one thing that I like to do at that point to start the meditations is I like to invite them to pick up a handful of grass.
Uh-huh.
And the reason that I do this is because it's a visual metaphor. So
Mm.
you can focus on the things that you're carrying that you want to let go of. You can see them kind of take shape or take form in that grass, and you hold it there. You kind of listen to it, honor it, and just spend a few moments with it. Then you put it back down where it belongs, back on Mother Earth, because we only have so much of a carried capacity. And that's
Yeah.
the part that a lot of people in today's world don't really take time to consider. Is all that stuff that you hate that you don't want to carry, you
Mhm.
can let it go.
Super. That's really, really awesome. For someone who might feel disconnected or overwhelmed by modern life, but can't take an extended trip, Mike, are there any simple ways that they can incorporate nature into their meditation practice?
The beautiful thing about wilderness meditation is the fact that it is so tangible, it is so easy to engage with.
Mm-hmm.
All you really have to do is literally just walk outside. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you walk outside, find a place to sit down, and
Mm-hmm.
just observe the world around you. Feel the breeze,
Yeah.
see the trees and the movements, the animals that come through, why they do what they do. And I can almost guarantee somebody that's in that situation where they're disconnected and they're looking at this as a way to reconnect. I can almost guarantee that through something that you observe, you're going to see a little something of yourself.
True.
And when you see that little aspect of yourself within you, just like the example I shared with my relationship with anxiety and the way that
Mm-hmm.
Longhorn helped me to understand that better, you're gonna find that. You're gonna find that new vocabulary.
Wow. And nature is resilient, we all know. You also believe you get a sense of resilience from nature. No matter what, there's a cycle, there's a process, a discipline which nature follows. How do you think the natural cycles and endurance of the wilderness mirror the emotional and spiritual challenges we face in life?
I get a lot of that aspect of things through the animal medicine and the animal stories that I tell people.
Hmm.
And one of the greatest that I focus on is perseverance, which can be found very emphatically through the story of the wolf. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of us think of the wolf as just the number one predator. He has like this thriving lust for blood, and
Yeah.
he's a great killer because he enjoys it. But
Yes.
that couldn't be farther from the truth. The
Mm-hmm.
reality of the matter is within his world, there's no greater emphasis of winning and losing. Losing means that he's going to starve, and
Mm-hmm.
winning means that he gets to live to the next day. Well, we see all the winning. What we don't see is the fact that he loses more times than he wins.
Mm-hmm.
And he still makes that decision to turn toward life and learn from the failures so that he can hone his art. He can hone the practice of hunting in
Yeah.
order to survive and reach the next day and strengthen himself through that idea of perseverance.
Hmm. And for those who are listening to this episode and who may be going through personal challenges or looking to reconnect with themselves, Mike, what advice would you give to them about using nature as a channel or a medium for healing and self discovery?
So, one of the biggest aspects that I would say is a lot of the time when we go out on a hike or we go out into the wilderness on an adventure, we don't really know where we're going. And we take that concept or we take that context of the unknown and we're okay with it to an extent because we know that there's going to be markers and things out there that we find our way. Well, when it comes to the rest of our lives, we fear the unknown. But the truth of the matter is, the unknown is where we do most of our growth. So if we kind of tapped into that childlike perception or that mindset of the joy and thrill of adventure,
Mm-hmm.
and we brought that into our daily lives,
Mm-hmm.
the unknown becomes a little bit easier to deal with. And there was a great thing, probably one of the most important pieces of advice I got in my time in talk therapy was sometimes you just don't need to know. You need to just trust that you have that skill set with you and just jump.
Hmm. And as you reintegrated into your everyday life after returning from wilderness, did you find it challenging to maintain the sense of peace and clarity which you had gained during a journey? And how do you continue to maintain that practice of wilderness meditation now?
Oh, you just hit on like the thing that I still struggle with to this day, even after all that, because disconnection and like, just being around people in general is still a challenge to this day. I went from coming off the trail to I would spend the majority of my day in like the smallest, most confined area that I could find.
Oh.
And it took opening myself up to that thrill of the adventure within the context of the unknown or the context of fear, because I had a fear of being out due to my anxiety and just
Mm.
test the waters, just take a step.
Yeah.
And Daniel Boone, actually, there's a great quote from him about the very idea
Mm-hmm.
is when you magnetize your compass and you set it toward your true north within an adventure, it gives you that thrill that becomes the spark for the momentum to carry yourself through the journey and through the process. And a lot of the times, it's not necessarily about the destination because I always sitting in there pictured myself getting into just this grand, flow of life.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, even though I'm functioning in the world and I'm doing what I do, there's still that part of me that's like this isn't really where my thought process thought I would be, but
Mm-hmm.
I love where I'm at. And it's within that ability to pivot and shift and persevere that you start to develop in your heart this willingness to just celebrate where you're at in life. And that it relieves a lot of the stress and a lot of the anxieties and the stories that we tell ourselves about where we're trying to go.
Hmm. And another question, Mike, as for someone who might be intimidated or, scared by the idea of wilderness meditation or just backpacking solo, what would you suggest as a first step to start their journey?
So I would have to say start simple. It doesn't have to be you've got this idea in your mind that you want to go out and you want to engage in these activities. I'm going out and doing exactly what I see on YouTube and all these different extreme things.
Uh,
You could start as simple as going out in your backyard, walking around, then upgrading to a park. And while you're at the park, throwing out a backpack and doing just little things here and there to take it to the next step. And
mhm.
each time you do that, though, I would highly recommend taking the time to get to know where you're at, as well as the gear that you're carrying or that you want to use. Give yourself that confidence by, again, building up and enjoying the journey.
Superb, superb. And finally, Mike, if our listeners want to connect with you, explore the wonders of the wilderness meditation and how you are helping yourself as well as others to explore the wonderful nature and help through healing, how can they do that? So,
So you can head over to the website, which is the base camp for everything that I do. That's
mhm.
projectmindfulloutdoors.co. While you're there, I would encourage you to sign up for a free trailhead call where we'll get together for about 30 minutes and we'll start to lay out a path to discover the tools that are going to help you to rewrite your journey. And then I've also got a beautiful podcast that runs 7 days a week by the
Wow.
same name, Project Mindfully Outdoors. And you can find that everywhere you can listen to a podcast, including wherever you're listening to this great show.
Beautiful. That's lovely. We'll mention all the details in the show notes for our listeners. And Mike, your journey has been truly inspiring for all of us. And it's incredible. It's really interesting how you found solace and healing in nature and how wilderness meditation played such a pivotal role in your transformation. So, thank you so much for sharing your story and offering such valuable insights for all of us to how to use nature to heal and find peace within ourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today.
Great. And to our listeners, we hope this conversation encourages you to explore the natural world, the gift given to us in a deeper way, and consider how wilderness meditation might benefit your own personal journey. You can refer to the show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform to explore the wonderful resources and the podcast Mike has for you. And to conclude, stay mindful, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Mindful Living Podcast. This is your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.